What is happening, my YouTube family? Of course, it is your boy B New. I'm coming to you on this Thursday, and first and foremost, as always, want to send out positive vibrations and blessings to anybody who could be listening. Now, with all that being said, we all know that the NBA playoffs are well up on us, and it has been some great games. And I apologize on yesterday. I just been so busy, and I got a lot of things going on, and I'm about to be on a road trip this evening, so I'm probably gonna have to try to watch the game from the laptop or something while I'm on a long road trip, because I had some emergency things come up to where I'm gonna have to go out of town and tend to some family members and things of that nature. So yeah, everybody just send me positive blessings in that regard. I definitely appreciate it, and I'm always sending all y'all positive blessings. Now, like I said, with all that being said, there's a lot I want to talk about, but where I want to start at is the game most recently on yesterday. And of course, we know that game, well, there was some good games on yesterday. We know Joel Embid, that was a great game, him hitting that game winner. But what I really want to focus on is that none other than the Brooklyn Nets taking on the Boston Celtics. And that's one of the most marquee matchups, because you're talking about two teams that are facing each other in the first round. And I can't remember the last time I saw teams in the first round face one another that were this good, because typically when you see teams playing at a 2-7 matchup or a 1-8 matchup, then there's a little bit of separation between those teams. But as we all know, what happened, of course, with James Harden over the course of the season, and what happened. And tell me right now, if you think that James Harden move, who's looking better right now? James Harden up 3-0 in his respective team, or the Nets down 0-2? And we're going to talk about all of that here in just a second. But like I was just saying, though, family, is, like I said on the video the other day, Kevin Durant, heaviest. Oh, man, y'all, I don't know what I'm about to do, because this road is blocked and they blowing up some shit with some dynamite. So your boy going to have to take a different route. And I might end up some places that I've never been before, but we'll see how it all go. But y'all work with me, because this is how we do on this show. It's unscripted. That's how we come at y'all the best way we can. So anyway, like I was saying, Kevin Durant, heavy is the head that wears the crown, and Kevin Durant head and neck is probably so damn sore, because even last night, now we saw in the first quarter, Brooklyn came out 33-24. You know, they had a lead as much as 16 or 17 points. Of course, they cut that down to 9 points out of the first quarter. And then, of course, they outscored them by 1, I think, going in the second quarter, 32-31. And going into the halftime, they were up by 10. But of course, the Celtics chipped away in that third quarter, outscored them 30-25, and chipped away and cut that lead to 5 going into the fourth quarter. How many of you all, now just be real now, just be real for a second, how many of you all thought that the Brooklyn Nets were going to win that game once the Celtics had cut into that lead and the crowd was into it? Did you think that Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving were going to be able to pull it off? Now, I'm just going to be honest with you all. I had Brooklyn, because I thought with the additions that Brooklyn made at the trade deadline, the addition of Seth Curry to take the place since Joe Harris is out injured for the remainder of the year due to his ankle injury, of course, as well as Claxton. Claxton is stepping his game up playing. They added Drummond, who can give you what you need as far as the paint is concerned, as far as getting the boards, because that's what they were sorely lacking. I thought that they could, advance and make it to a finals, and that Kevin Durant can actually go on to prove himself to be, in the conversation that people want to put him in, because people want to put him in the conversation with the likes of a LeBron James. And like I said before the other day, LeBron James went against this damn near same Celtics team. The Celtics team had Jason Tatum, they had Jaylen Brown, they had Marcus Smart, they had Al Horford. So you're talking about 4 of the main pieces that they had. And of course, we know Kyrie Irving was injured in that series, and he set that series out just to watch LeBron James go on in Game 7 to pretty much take that series and advance to the finals, as we all know. And we all know that even in that 7th game, Kevin Love was not even available because of the concussion that he suffered in Game 6. And LeBron James was able to carry the team with the likes of a Jeff Green and, of course, a Kyle Korver. Not a bad squad, but, J.R. Smith. But we all know what eventually happened. But my point is, LeBron didn't have Kyrie at his side during that time. He didn't have Kyrie at his side during that time when he went on that magnificent playoff run, just 3 or 4 years ago, and was able to propel his team to the finals. He did not have Kyrie at his side. So you would think anytime LeBron James had Kyrie at his side, we know how it all ended. Now, either it ended in a loss in the finals or a win in the finals. But for 4 years that LeBron James played beside Kyrie Irving, who was a great player, we know what happened. And Kyrie said at the beginning of the season, or last season, or whenever he said it, it's the first time I can look down that bench and know that I got a player who can hit a shot like me at the end of the game. Disrespecting the hell out of LeBron James as if he ain't hit clutch shots, as if he ain't hit game-winning shots. If he had Game 7 against San Antonio, when he hit the last shot to pull up, when they dared to go underneath the screen and get him to space, and he proved that he could now spread the floor as he improved his game to become a knockdown shooter, not just somebody who can get his way to the basket. And speaking of which, we had who was it? Who the hell was it? Somebody remind me and put in the comments, because I forgot. But it's somebody. Who was it? Damn it. One of these punks on TV said that the most skilled duo ever is Kyrie and KD, and just said it wasn't LeBron. It wasn't LeBron and Dwayne Wade. More skill. And don't even mention the fact, did they forget about a combination of a damn Shaq and a Kobe? And you talking about skill? Well, don't say what Shaq did was a skill just because he had size and was able to do it. Shaq still had footwork. Hot damn it, y'all. I didn't even have my case on, and then my phone fell, so my apologies. But like I said, we still gonna continue this show. The show must go on, as they say in show business, and this is show business. So as I was saying, Shaq, how dare he disrespect the hell out of Shaq and Kobe, saying as far as I've done previous shows, as we all know, on dynamic duos, and I always said you didn't need a big three to win the championship. And if you look at all over the course of history, throughout the course of the NBA history of who won championships, it was always a dynamic duo. Whether you talk about a Magic and a Kareem, who also had Worthy and other great players, but as the main two people, a Magic and a Kareem, a Dr. J and a Moses Malone, a Larry Bird and a Kevin McHale. Not saying the Chief wasn't valuable, but I'm just saying the main two, who they could definitely depend on, who could have led them to a championship. And you talking about an Isaiah Thomas and a Joe Dumars, great backcourt that's often overlooked. You talking about a Michael Jordan and a Scottie Pippen. You talking about a Shaq and a Kobe. You talking about a LeBron and a D Wade. You talking about a Tony Parker and a Tim Duncan. You talking about a Tim Duncan and a David Robinson. You understand what I'm saying? Now, with all that being said, I still can't put in the comments who it was. When my phone fell, I should have looked it up real quick. I think it was T-Mac. That's who it was. The Mac is not back, if that's what you feel, because he said that was the most talented duo you saw. But let me tell you something. When the Celtics was throwing everything but the kitchen sink at LeBron James, and they getting a little bit physical with Kevin Durant, and they saying he can't handle it. And then you get a dumb take from one Chris Broussard, who I like about 70% of his takes. I'll be honest, but sometimes I just cannot agree with what comes out of this man's mouth. And one thing that I think I heard this morning from a Chris Broussard, or even yesterday, I think it had to be this morning because it was after the game, is Chris Broussard said, well, people said Ryman or whoever couldn't guard a KD because, he's just too skilled. Well, this is what they're doing to him. This is 90s defense. The refs are allowing them to play. Man, they're straight baloney. Listen, I'm not saying that the 90s weren't good. I'm not saying that. I think the 80s were better. I think the 90s was better than the early 2000s. It just all depends. Talent has, come and go in this league. And, the 90s was a time of, 6 different teams being added and some of the best talent being spread out more over teams. And then you had, the Bulls, who really had probably the best team out of all the teams, and that's just the way it was. And, of course, what made them the best team was a great Michael Jordan. I'm not taking anything away from them. I'm just saying, when he went against other people in the finals, I watched Game 6 of the 92 finals the other day just for fun. I had nothing to do, so I decided to take it in. It's been a while since I watched the game in its entirety. Matter of fact, I'm going to make a show about that later on, but let me just focus on what the hell I'm talking about now. Since my phone fell down, I got a little bit off track. So back to what I was saying. As far as the game on yesterday, back Chris Broussard, let me touch on that for a second, saying that it's this 90s defense and this and this and that. No, let me tell you something. In the 90s, you could not really play a zone. That wasn't allowed. You had to play your man straight up one-on-one every night. Double teaming off the ball wasn't as allowed. Double teaming players, that wasn't allowed, even though it happened at times. So don't get me wrong, you pull up a clip, oh look, they're doing it. But for the most part, it's just like illegal defense isn't always called. You understand? Right now, when some people might be in the lane for a lot longer, they could camp out in the lane longer. I will give you that in the 90s. But at the end of the day, defenses are far much more complex now. Defenders have to cover a lot more space on the floor now. The way the ball swings and moves and so many different three-point threats on different teams, you have to have better perimeter defense now. Defense back then, the game was played inside out. Now the game is more played outside in. Players are constantly moving. If you double, and even in the pick and roll situation, when you switch and other players get caught, even if the defense is collapsed and the help comes from the weak side, players are kicking it out to corner shooters on every possession. In the 90s, of course, you had B.J. Armstrong, John Paxson, Craig Hodges, different players for the Bulls who could hit these threes, but not at a rate of what players are doing it now. And I know the game has changed, and you have to put everything into context, and that's exactly what I do. But haters don't understand. Haters will call me a hater, but I congratulate a hater real quick, and I send positive blessings their way. But let's talk more about last night's game. Kevin Durant, when they got a little physical with him, he don't have the strength of a LeBron James to fight through that. He don't have the mental fortitude of a LeBron James to fight through that, because you think they wouldn't think about, even in the Dallas series, all dumb idiots want to say, oh, J.J. Barrera stopped LeBron James. No, if you listen to Mark Cuban, as a matter of fact, I'm going to pull a clip up of it. He explained it perfectly, and he's an owner. He's not even a great basketball mind, but he even understood the team defense that was played on LeBron James during that series. Their whole philosophy was about stopping one man, because they knew what that one man could do. Do you understand me? And it was a complex scheme that they put in place in order to fluster him at every moment, the same way that they are doing Kevin Durant. But the thing about it is, Kevin Durant just cannot handle what the Celtics are throwing at him. They're just making life very difficult for him. And for him to come out in the second half and go 0 for 11 in the second half, but yet get 18 free throws. When the last time you seen LeBron get 18 free throws? Now, I know y'all probably tired of me talking about LeBron because LeBron's sitting at home, but I don't give a damn. I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to bring it up because everybody want to say that this man was better than LeBron James because he beat him at Golden State when he had, see, life not so easy for you, KD, when you ain't got the Splash Brothers who got your back. Now, I will say this. I did pick the Nets, and I do. I'm not counting them out of this series. I'm not counting these Nets out of this series because the Nets still have, I think, what it takes. And even last night, if they would have had the mental fortitude and Kyrie played like Kyrie, because Kyrie didn't really give you much last night, I don't see that happening again, especially when they get in the confines of Brooklyn and you get all those rowdy crowd down there in Brooklyn. Speaking of rowdy crowds, though, we're going to talk about Memphis and the whole whoop that trick movement. I love when I go to the grindhouse and they start playing whoop that trick. We'll talk about that later too. I might need to do a whole nother video because, I'm telling y'all like this, and I'm not trying to be a homer or anything, and I know I didn't get to pick my picks just yet, but right now with the injuries to Devin Booker, and the injuries to Middleton, I might have to go out on a limb and pick the way Boston is playing defense right now, but I don't want to count Miami out either. But we might be looking at a Memphis and Boston series. And I say Memphis because Memphis is one of the few teams in the playoffs. A lot of teams are only going 8 deep right now, 9 deep right now. Memphis is going 10 and 11 deep, with Zaire Williams, Felton, just all the bench players that can contribute. Then you got the great defenders, just the way Desmond Bain is playing as far as his high clip that he's shooting from the three-point range and his ability to defend. Dylan Brooks, his ability to defend. Let's not mention Jarrett Jackson Jr., his ability to defend the paint, his ability to actually stretch the floor as well now because he's become a pretty good three-point shooter as well. Steven Adams, who I think may not be as valuable in this Minnesota series, but will prove to be valuable if they end up facing a team like Phoenix, which I'm telling you, with Booker out, y'all. I'm just saying. I just don't see Phoenix. They might not even get past New Orleans. I'm just being honest. Because Brandon Ingram is that guy. Speaking of Brandon Ingram, I know a lot of you Laker fans and other people that Laker Nation are saying, oh, why did they give up Brandon Ingram? It was all contract issues. It wasn't that the Lakers valued Kyle Kuzma over Brandon Ingram. It was the effect that they had on the cap and what New Orleans wanted based on what they could do. As you can remember, when they first got Brandon Ingram, they didn't give him his extension. He earned that extension with New Orleans. Now, if you would have asked me then and asked me now, of course I take Brandon Ingram over Kyle Kuzma. And if you remember correctly, Brandon Ingram was a heavy contributor to the Lakers being successful. Let's not forget LeBron James' first year that everybody want to call a failure when they didn't reach the playoffs. The Lakers were a third or fourth seed by Christmas. And one of the higher teams in the Western Conference, which nobody said that they would be, because LeBron James was joining the likes of a very young team of a Josh Hart and a Lonzo Ball and a Kyle Kuzma and a Brandon Ingram. And let's not to mention, they was beating the hell out of Golden State on Christmas Day before LeBron's injury. Now, after all the whispers of people like Magic putting out all the rumors in the air about getting rid of them and getting AD and all that, and of course LeBron James was on board of that, but I will say this, I just wish the Lakers would have kept the young core in place, because I think they would have been in a better position than they are now, because AD is always hurt. Brandon Ingram has proved that he's a great player. He got great length, great shot, and the reason why he hollering out LeBrick, I really feel like, and this is just my personal opinion, I don't have any sources, just come from my memory of when I was watching the game. At times, LeBron would call for the ball and Brandon Ingram would look him off many a time. And I felt like Brandon Ingram didn't like the fact that LeBron came to the Lakers and was going to steal his shine, and he didn't like all the attention of it, where other players like Kuzma had a personality that's not an alpha male, who was like, hey, you understand what I'm saying, more than happy that LeBron came, whereas Brandon Ingram didn't like it so much because he wanted to be that guy. And he's proven right now he can be that guy if he has a little bit of help. And now that he does with CJ McCullough, you see what they are capable of doing. But that's also with good coaching. And I'm not even going to touch on what Shaq said. I might have to do a whole nother video. Put in the comments if y'all want me to do a whole nother video on what Shaq said. Put in the comments if y'all want me to do a whole nother video on what Shaq said about Frank Vogel and nobody want to coach the Lakers, because I got a lot that I can say about that. But anyway, back to the game, what I'm saying. I'm not going to count the Nets out of this series just yet. But you know who I am going to count out the series? The Toronto Raptors. They had a chance last night. They blew it. It went to overtime. We all know what the outcome was. But as a result, they are now down 3-0. And I just don't really see them getting back into that series. So you can just count that as a loss. And now I really feel like with the injury to Chris Middleton, that was another crazy injury that happened. And I really feel like the injury to Chris Middleton is going to hurt the Milwaukee Bucks because they don't. And NBA is all about matchups, ladies and gentlemen. The NBA is all about matchups, and I keep saying that, especially in the playoffs. That's why I gave the Lakers a fighting chance, because if the Lakers could have made the play-in, now look at Phoenix with the injury to Devin Booker. What kind of position would the Lakers be in to maybe go on somewhat of a run? And we all know the Lakers played Golden State pretty good this year, as well as Memphis when they played them. So, I mean, you just never know, but, that's something that's over, and there's no need to discuss. But at the end of the day, it's all about matchups, and that's my point. And even Minnesota Timberwolves, they match up great with the Memphis Grizzlies, and it still doesn't concern me. I don't think Memphis is out of the woods just yet. But what I will say about Memphis, a lot of times, if you look through the course of history, these younger teams, they have to have, they got to build up, just like it took this Detroit Pistons a while before they can get through the Celtics, right? Then it took the Bulls a while before they can get to the Pistons. You understand what I'm saying? It took OKC a while before they can get through San Antonio. It just takes certain teams a while, but they build up that confidence each year. Like the Memphis Grizzlies years ago, it took them a while when they had Tony Allen, Mike Conley, Marcus All, Jack Randolph, but they had the talent, but they just didn't have enough talent to get past it. Now, this current Memphis team, I think, has not only the talent, but they got the heart. So you got to have both. And especially when you're a young team, a lot of these young teams, they had a talent, but they won't have the heart. Or some of them might have a heart and might not have enough talent. But I'm telling you, Memphis is deep. We know when Ja Morant was out that they went 20-5 without him. That they have players in place that's more than capable of spreading the floor. Pretty much damn near everybody on the team, from the starters to the bench, except for Steven Adams, are capable of hitting the long ball, hitting the three-point shot, and spreading the floor. They all are good defenders. You think, and I think the Memphis Grizzlies, if I'm not mistaken, are number one in pace and number one in offense in the league, so they can definitely put the ball in the hoop. And also, they're not a bad defensive team as well. And you can see how they turned up that defensive intensity in the playoffs. Especially, I think their defensive rating would have been a lot higher had Dillon Brooks played the entirety of the season. But when you got a dog like a Dillon Brooks and a dog like Jared Allen Jr., who is a paint protector and a block party all by himself, I'm just telling you what, it's going to be hard for teams to contend with the Memphis Grizzlies. And as the playoffs get deeper and more games, and you play a game on, a game off, then you're actually going to see that it's going to be real tough when you just going 8 deep. And that's one thing I do worry, like I said, about the Celtics. Those legs might start to get to them as they progress through the further rounds, if they can get past Brooklyn. Because like I said, put in the comments below if you think that the Celtics are going to sweep Brooklyn, or what you think the series is going to be. At this point, I think Brooklyn can still come back, but the way I'm looking at it right now, I just don't think, you know, Kyrie thought he knew Kevin Durant had the skill, but what Kyrie didn't realize is Kevin Durant didn't have the heart. You understand what I'm saying? Hey, there's an old song, "The Trigger Has No Heart" by Spice One. I think it was Spice One. Might not have been. It might have been Compass Most Wanted. But either way, go bump it if you can. I like to throw out an old school hip hop song every once in a while for you youngsters out there that's listening. Go bump that thing. But anyway, man, I ain't gonna keep focusing on this. There's a lot of things we got left to talk about. But like I said, we're gonna talk more and more. But I got things I need to get to because, like I said, I got some things going on within the family. Now because my damn phone fell, I'm gonna have to go ahead and splice these videos up and put them together. So it might, if you're watching it right now, just know it took me a little bit longer to debut this junk. And I will say junk, you understand what I'm saying? Because it's time for the Memphis to grind on. Because right now, LeBron James and the Lakers have been eliminated. And of course, I have to go ahead and pull for the Memphis Grizzlies to do their thing. And that's who I'm pulling for. So put in the comments right now below, who you pulling for to win the finals. Who do you think will win and why? And as always, man, this been your boy B New. And I'm just screaming right on to the real. Much love to these haters.